"Emma, you're in luck," Anna said, winking playfully at her colleague. "In what way?" Emma asked, surprised as she fastened the last button on her medical gown adorned with daisies. Emma couldn't stand boring white gowns, so she personally bought something cheerful for herself. "It's more pleasant for the patients. They won't be scared of the white coat. And it's more cheering for me," she used to say. "You've been assigned to Mr. Gustavo's ward, that wealthy man. If he likes you, he'll reward you generously," Anna explained. "What's he doing in our clinic if he's so wealthy? Couldn't he find a better place?" Emma wondered. "It's not about that. He's just friends with our chief physician. Seems like they're childhood friends. He comes here sometimes to take care of his health, heart issues or nerves, something like that." "I don't delve into it," Anna replied. "I'm not sure if I'm lucky. I can't stand those wealthy egotists who expect everything to be perfect, from their bed sheets smelling like mountain air to having a perfect nurse to administer their injections. I know them. I've dealt with them before. You think I came here for what? Because dealing with patients here is simpler, without all the hassle," Emma expressed her thoughts. "Don't worry. This guy is actually nice. The girls wouldn't have said so without reason. Go on, take your post, friend." Anna smiled, grabbing her green folder with the doctor's orders and leaving the nursing station. Mr. Gustavo was settled in a private room. There were only 2 such rooms in the clinic, and they usually remained empty. Who needs to pay extra even for comfort? Not that type of clientele. "Good morning, Mr. Gustavo," Emma greeted the patient. "My name is Emma. I've been assigned to take care of you." "Hello, Emma. I'm glad such a lovely girl is taking care of me. Ready to obey any orders, swallow bitter pills, endure injections," he said, a faint smile touching his lips. "Very well, Mr. Gustavo, so you'll be recovering quickly," Emma replied. "Don't be so formal, just call me Gustavo," the patient insisted. "How are you feeling?" the nurse asked sympathetically. "Not very well. My heart keeps reminding me of its presence. It aches as if it might stop altogether." Gustavo sighed. "Don't worry, let your heart keep beating. It's too early for it to stop, far too early. Let me give you a vitamin shot and then you can rest," Emma comforted him. "Thank you, Emma, it's a beautiful name. It was my late sister's name," Gustavo added. Emma administered the injection to her patient without further words and bid farewell. "That guy doesn't look sick," Emma thought as she walked down the corridor. "People with heart issues usually don't act like this. They're not in the mood for jokes, and he's smiling and being polite." She dismissed the thought. People are different. Some panic over a scratch thinking they're dying, while others smile despite being riddled with wounds. "Keep a close eye on the old man, Emma." The chief physician caught her in the corridor. "He's a friend of my late father, and he's just a very good person. Utterly unhappy and lonely now. His daughter left him for some remote town with her crazy artist." "All right, Dr. John. I'll make sure Mr. Gustavo feels very comfortable here," Emma assured. "Thank you, Emma." The doctor patted her shoulder and went about his business. The rich man's room, as all the nurses called it among themselves, resembled more of an office of a businessman. There was a desk with a laptop, even a printer on the shelf above the desk. There was also a massive leather armchair. Neat stacks of papers lay on the table. This old man who complained that his heart was about to stop calmly went about his usual business. "You shouldn't be working right now," Emma said as she entered Mr. Gustavo's room. "The head of a company can't afford to just fall ill. Everyone always needs something from a poor old sick man," he chuckled softly. "Travel Agency Manura," Emma read quietly from one of the documents. "Beautiful name. That's my daughter's business," Gustavo sighed sadly. "She chose that reckless artist over me and her comfortable life. Maybe she just loves him," Emma cautiously suggested. "When you love someone, wealth doesn't matter, as long as you're with that person." "You're probably right, kiddo. Not everything can be measured in money. I just realized it too late." "Too late," the man responded, with a tinge of pain and hopelessness in his voice. Emma didn't know what to say. There was such pain and despair in the man's voice. She handed Mr. Gustavo his pills and a glass of water. He drank obediently and turned away from the nurse. Emma left the room with a heavy feeling in her chest. "I wouldn't be myself if I didn't find out what's going on with this old man," she thought, hurrying down the corridor. As usual, She had a lot to do. One day, Emma managed to uncover something that turned the lives of several people, including her own, upside down. In Mr. Gustavo's room, there was a bathroom, and from there one could access both the patient room and a special utility room where various supplies were stored. Only staff had access to it. Emma, always a girl with a sense of humor as her patients loved and her colleagues appreciated, quickly slipped into the utility room. As she called it, Emma cracked open the door to the bathroom and listened intently. "Gustavo, my dear, what are you planning?" Dr. John was saying. "John, my boy, I have to try. The main thing is to spread the rumor. That's my job. The guys are waiting for orders to start this advertising stunt. Gustavo Enigo is on his deathbed. He has only one wish, to see his daughter." "Does it sound convincing?" Gustavo asked. "It does. But will Manura rush to say goodbye to her poor daddy whose heart is hanging by a thread and about to fall out of his chest?" The doctor chuckled. "I don't know about that. My daughter has always been sensitive and kind." "I can only hope for that," Gustavo replied. "Yeah, so sensitive that she ran away with her artist and didn't care about her father," the doctor said. "You know, I'm to blame for that myself. Why did I decide to blame the kid for that dirty deed? I only wanted the best for my girl. But what's best for her? I didn't think about that. I thought I knew everything in advance." "Arrogant fool," Gustavo lamented. "All right, old man, go ahead. I think you're living quite well here. If you need anything, you know I'm ready to help you. Take care of your heart, Gustavo." The doctor left the room, and Mr. Gustavo began to pace back and forth from the window to the door. It was clear that the man was nervous and pondering something. Wow, just like in a movie. He wants to reconcile with his daughter who ran away from him years ago. Spinning his status and wealth, he's even ready to spread the rumor that he's terminally ill. What an imaginative character, Emma thought as she carefully locked the door to the utility room. Emma decided to find a convenient moment to talk to Mr. Gustavo. Perhaps she could help him. She really wanted to. She had lost her own parents early in life and knew what it was like to not have someone close who would understand and support you in difficult times. Maybe that's why she wanted the father and daughter to reunite. "Good morning, Gustavo," Emma greeted, entering the rich man's room. "How did you sleep?" "Hello, Emma. Not well? Had some dragon in my dreams. Spent the whole night trying to escape it," he chuckled. "And did you manage to escape?" Emma asked, placing the pillbox on the bedside table. "I did, but he singed me, the brute. Seems I can't get rid of this dragon until the very end." Gustavo sighed heavily. "Do you have parents?" "My parents passed away when I was very young. I only have a 5-year-old daughter, Evelyn," Emma replied. "I'm sorry you became an orphan so early, dear," Mr. Gustavo sympathized. "And your daughter's father? Is he—" "I don't know anything about him. He left us when Jossie was barely a year old. Said he met an old flame. Couldn't handle the resurfacing feelings. Oh, it was hard for me then. Alone with a little girl in my arms. No money, no job to speak of. Thank goodness for the neighbor, Mrs. Clara. If it weren't for her, we would have been lost. I still mention that kind woman in my prayers every time. She passed away 2 years ago." "Yeah, you've had a tough fate, my dear." Mr. Gustavo looked at Emma sympathetically. "Take care of your little girl. I failed to protect mine." Don't say that. Manura is alive and happy." "Yes, but she doesn't want to see me. I find out about my granddaughters through others. I had to hire a private detective almost to find out about my daughter's life and her family." "And what did you find out?" "She lives with her artist in a small house. I have 2 granddaughters. One is 11 now, and the other is 5, just like your Jocelyn." "And what does your daughter do?" the nurse asked, sitting on the edge of a chair. "She's a teacher, imagine. She works at an ordinary school, teaches in the elementary grades, and she could have achieved so much more." The old man waved his hand. "Have you ever thought that Manura might be happy? Maybe she's achieved exactly what she wanted?" "Perhaps, Emma. I convince myself that one cannot be happy with some simple artist and live in obscurity." "Why did she run away?" Emma cautiously asked, and Mr. Gustavo told the nurse his long-standing story. Gustavo was always ambitious. When he married Manura's mother, he was just an ordinary employee who helped clients choose the right tour. The young man did his job well, and he was valued in the team. Over time, Gustavo became the right hand of the boss, and then rose to become the general manager. The travel company became his own home. Now it was thriving, all thanks to Mr. Gustavo's perseverance and hard work. Manura was never attached to her father's money. She couldn't be made to do anything against her will. Many in her circle called her crazy. With such money, she could have gone to any university, done anything, and yet she chose to become a teacher. Enrolling in a college, she entered herself without any help from her father and didn't ask him for anything. Manura's mother was torn between two fires. Her husband was outraged that she couldn't raise their daughter to be meek and obedient, to listen to her father's opinion, who knew exactly what she needed and what was best and right for her. And Manura cried on her shoulder that she was tired of her father's pressure, that he didn't understand or hear her, that she was also a person with her own opinion. Dolores died when Manura was 17. Cancer took her in a matter of months. Mr. Gustavo's money couldn't help. Manura blamed her father for her mother's death. "It's because of you that Mom got this terrible illness," she yelled. "You pressured her, accused her of things she wasn't guilty of. Do you even know she cried at night?" "No, I didn't know that," the father replied. "How could you know? You're all about business. Your company's honor and name, your creation are above everything. You think what? Your wife cries, she'll cry a bit and then stop, right, Dad? It's just a trifle, a mere bagatelle. Everyone should only do what you said. Only you in this world know how to live, not only for yourself but for others too. All you care about is status and money. You don't give a damn about people's feelings and desires." That's when the father hit his only daughter for the first and last time. She didn't speak to him for a month. And then Manura met Alejandro, a young artist who worked as an illustrator in a children's magazine and took orders online. "Dad, Alejandro proposed to me," Manura said one day. "What? That pauper? What can he give you?" Mr. Gustavo asked irritably. "He can give me love, Dad, and care. We'll work, save up, and buy a little apartment or house. Will you let us live with you for now? Our house is so big and so empty. That good-for-nothing won't set foot in my house. Since he means so much to you, then arrange your life without me. I'm ready to give you everything. You can continue my business, and you choose the pauper, this artist who will be a wreck by 40. I know these people in creative professions. Not one of them has ended their life normally. You know, Dad, I don't want to continue your business. I want to continue my business. My path is to teach children, to show them that in life you need to achieve everything yourself, that life is multifaceted and beautiful." "Manura, that sounds too lofty. Get down to earth. Look around. Yes, you need to achieve everything yourself, but not in a school as an elementary school teacher. And where then? In a travel company, huh? Yes, at least in a travel company. Only a strong business can provide you with a carefree old age and comfortable living conditions. You know, I'd rather live my whole life in poverty but with the person I love than with a father who dictates every step to me and wants to make me unhappy by forcing me to work in a field that my soul doesn't resonate with. I'm leaving to be with Alejandro." "Where are you going to live? In squalor?" With that, the father boiled with anger. "He rents a room on the outskirts of town. That's where we'll live." "So that's where you'll live? On the outskirts? You won't find happiness in the city center?" Manura didn't say another word. She gathered the essentials and quietly left. Mr. Gustavo waited for a few days, but a month passed, and his daughter didn't return. Then the desperate father resorted to extreme measures. He decided to separate his daughter from this artist Alejandro. He decided to frame him for a dirty deal, drug distribution. He had enough connections, so it was easy for him, but Gustavo didn't have the chance. That day, Manura came home. She wanted to reconcile with her father, convince him that she and Alejandro loved each other and wanted to be together, but she didn't want to be in conflict with her father. When she entered, her father was on the phone. He was discussing that very dirty deal he was planning to entangle her beloved in. Manura rushed out, forgetting the box of chocolates she brought with her on the table. That same night, the young couple left the capital for a small seaside town. Since then, the daughter stopped all communication with her father. She simply erased him from her life. It wouldn't have cost Gustavo anything to find her, or even to kidnap her if he had wanted to. But he realized that Manura wouldn't give in. It was her choice, and he simply had no right to impose himself, let alone interfere in her life. True, it was too late. How to regain his daughter's trust? Gustavo had no answer to this question. Perhaps now it was the most difficult question in his life. This same question haunted him now. That's why I decided to commit this foolish act. To fake my terrible illness, Gustavo said bitterly to Emma. She sat silently, but listened very attentively. It was evident that her whole being responded to this sad story. "What do you expect from your daughter?" Emma suddenly asked. "That she will come and forgive you, throw herself into your arms." "What?" "I don't know, my girl, I really don't know. I realized I was a terrible husband and father, selfish and stubborn, but I don't want to die without hugging her, my Manura, and my granddaughters. Imagine, they were born and almost grown up without me. I didn't see how they started to walk, talk, what they lived for all these years." Gustavo covered his face with his hands, his shoulders trembling. Emma understood that he couldn't hold back tears anymore. Tears of bitterness and longing, of his own helplessness, and the futility of past quarrels and grievances. "Maybe you'll think I'm crazy, but you need to make sure your daughter doesn't know it's you. You need to go there, to that, as you say, God-forsaken town, and settle nearby their old house. You need to befriend her again, earn her trust and love. It will be love not for her father, but for a lonely neighbor, kind and caring. Only if you really want this, you'll have to become that kind neighbor, not just seem like it, but be it. You'll have to truly accept your son-in-law because he's Manura's beloved. Are you ready for that? Sarita, where did you get such wisdom? You're not even 30 yet." "Mr." Gustavo marveled. "I'm 31. I'm passionate about psychology, and I love psychological thrillers and detective stories like hell. Although you exaggerate what wisdom, I just don't know what else to come up with. I can almost see you there in that small, hopeless town, walking along the seashore, and your girls running towards you." "Emma, but that's impossible. How can I just drop everything and go to some God-forsaken town?" "Everything is possible. It just takes more time for the impossible," the nurse simply replied and got up from the chair. "If you want to experience what it means to love your loved ones again, do as I say." Emma left the room, and Gustavo remained sitting in his leather chair. "There's something in the phrases of this pretty, dark-haired nurse," he muttered. "There's definitely something." "Mr." Gustavo spent the night miserably. He kept thinking about the nurse's words with her big brown eyes. After all, she was right. If you want to experience your daughter's love again, you have to act, become the person she wants to love, even if it means being an old, lonely man living nearby. "How's your dragon doing?" Emma asked, as she entered her patient's room the next morning. "The dragon said that only a sweet girl with big brown eyes and an angelic voice can save me. He also said she has a wonderful 5-year-old daughter." "Oh, come on, and how can she do that?" "I'll tell you everything now. Do you have time, or do you need to administer medications to patients?" "I do. I've already checked on everyone else. I saved your room for last." Emma smiled and sat on the edge of a chair. "Tell me, what's the dragon's plan?" "Sarita, my dear, I agree. I agree to drop everything and go to that wilderness, but not alone." "With whom, then?" The girl was surprised. "With you," the old man simply replied. "What? Are you joking?" "Not at all, beauty. We're embarking on an exciting journey. I can't do it alone. But I've only recently started working in this clinic, and Evelyn, don't worry, she'll come with us. I'll handle everything. You'll never be in need of anything, I promise." "Mr. Gustavo, I can't. I beg you." He took Emma's hand. "I can't do this alone." "And who will we pretend to be there?" "Well, for example, we'll say you're my niece and Evelyn is my granddaughter." "You're quite the adventurer, and also the head of the company," Emma smiled. "So are you in?" Gustavo asked hopefully. And if your daughter recognizes you, she will definitely recognize you." "I'll have to go under the knife," the man shrugged. "What do you mean?" "A little plastic surgery wouldn't hurt." "Are you really willing to undergo surgery just like that?" Emma fidgeted on the chair. "Not just like that, Sarita, but for the sake of loved ones, for the sake of reconnecting with them." "All right, we're with you," Emma said solemnly. Gustavo and Emma's lives changed drastically. They started doing things they would have never done before. He left the clinic, explaining to John that he changed his mind about pretending and making a scene on the internet, delegating his affairs to a temporary deputy, attending some procedures, preparing for plastic surgery. Gustavo certainly didn't plan to become a completely different person, but he still aimed to change something in himself that would prevent Manura from recognizing her father. Let her think he resembles someone, but not him. Emma had her own affairs. She quit the clinic, although she really enjoyed working there. It was a big surprise for the team. For the girl, it was also a big surprise. But she had no other way out. She had already promised Gustavo to help. Emma understood that if she didn't do this, the feeling of guilt would suffocate her. Who else would help this confused man? Emma had some inexplicable feeling. It seemed to her that something very good and wildly interesting was about to happen, so she prepared for the trip to the small seaside town with special trepidation. To be honest, she was fed up with the hustle and bustle of the capital, the crowds of people, the streams of cars, and the never-ending noise even at night. Evelyn happily accepted the news that they were going to a seaside town, although Emma was afraid that the girl would start protesting and wouldn't want to change her usual life. Evelyn immediately accepted Gustavo and started calling him Grandpa. Almost everything was ready. One late evening, Gustavo appeared at the doorstep of their apartment. "My girls, we're leaving the day after tomorrow morning. Are you ready?" "Yes, ready." Evelyn jumped up and down in excitement. "And will you put a pool there? A big inflatable one?" "Sweetie, we haven't even moved yet," Gustavo started. "You'll have a pool, I promise." That was the most important thing for the girl at that moment, so she ran off to collect her toys. "Look, Sarita, here are my new documents," Gustavo said, handing her a small folder. "Marcus Torres? Wow, but where's our Gustavo?" Emma raised her brown eyes to him. "He's not in the picture anymore," Uncle Marcus smiled. "That's how Emma would have to call him now. The house is ready for our arrival. We're so lucky it's very close to Manura's house. You bring me such luck." "It's not me. It's just that you finally got it together and decided to make a big change in your life and the lives of a few others. The universe can't ignore that and not help." "Yes, perhaps, my dear niece. It's a good thing I don't have to forge documents," Emma laughed. "That's for sure. All right, I'm off. I'll come by for you the day after tomorrow morning around 8. Stay in touch." Gustavo Marcus dashed out of the apartment. The house Gustavo bought was quite old, but still sturdy. It was surrounded by a neglected garden, overgrown with grass, among which wilted rose bushes could be glimpsed here and there. Compared to the capital, there was heavenly silence here. It seemed like every bird and cricket in the grass could be heard. Evelyn began to run around and chat non-stop about where her pool, lounge chair, and hammock would be. Emma and Marcus just smiled watching this energetic little girl. The new residents spent the entire day and the next busy with unpacking, even though they had only brought the essentials, arranging rooms and trying to bring some order to the house. "Mom, can I go outside for a walk?" Evelyn asked at some point. "What? Don't go too far. How can a girl go for a walk alone?" Emma replied. "Emma, this isn't the capital. You can circle this town in 4 hours, maybe 5 at most. Let the little one go. It's safe here. I've read everything about this place online. By the way, I've learned a lot of interesting things. You live here and don't even suspect that this remote town has such a rich history. Okay, go. But don't take your eyes off our reddish-brown roof, understand? You mustn't lose sight of it." "All right, Mommy. I won't take my eyes off it, I promise," the girl shouted as she ran off and disappeared behind the low gate. "Such a fireball," Emma remarked, wiping dust off the shelves in the living room. "Can't sit still for a minute." "She's just a child," Marcus said, unpacking another box. "Oh, these are Evelyn's toys. She'll sort them out herself when she gets back. I'll deal with the light bulbs for now." There are hardly any here. Will you be able to screw in a light bulb? Emma asked with a laugh. You're underestimating me. I can do everything. I just haven't done anything out of necessity, but my father and grandfather taught me a lot back in the day. All right, if you say so. Otherwise, I'll have to send you to the hospital on the first day after moving. No hospital. He grinned. I'm starting a new life. Emma liked the changes that had happened to her surrogate uncle. It seemed as if he had shed something heavy that had prevented him from moving and even breathing. It was as if he had started to live, simply live, instead of rushing from one project to another in an incomprehensible race for many years. This man essentially worked for the sake of work. Now, however, he had a clear goal: to win the love of his daughter and granddaughters, to improve his relationship with his son-in-law. Evelyn didn't come home alone. She was with another girl, slightly shorter than her. Her chestnut hair was tied in 2 neat braids. Dava Maria. Marcus almost dropped the box of light bulbs. This is Maniva. Mom, Grandpa, this is Sophia. Can we play in our garden? Nice to meet you, Sophia. I'm Emma. Of course you can play. Does Sophia's mom know where she is? My mom lets me play outside. She's happy that I have a friend so close now, the guest rambled. A moment later, both girls were in the garden. That's her, right? Your granddaughter? Emma asked. Yes, there's no doubt. She's like 2 drops of water to my menorah. Emma, I'm so afraid of meeting her. I don't know what to say, how to behave. Just play the role of Uncle Marcus visiting. Everything will happen as it should. Don't think about anything. Then everything will turn out for the best. Trust the heavens. How good it is that I persuaded you to move here with me. I definitely wouldn't have coped alone. Thank you, Sarita. Thank you for everything. All right, start screwing in your light bulbs already. Emma patted her uncle on the shoulder. They met at the market on a beautiful sunny morning. Manura was choosing greens while her father was selecting fruits. Marcus was wearing a straw hat and dark sunglasses. He resembled some sort of farmer. That was good. It would be harder for Manura to recognize her dad that way. Hello, Manura called out to Marcus. Good morning, he replied, trying to sound as casual as possible. His heart clenched. He wanted so much to run up and hug his little mean. That's what he used to call his daughter when she was a little girl. You moved into the house with the red roof about a week ago, right? Manura asked, stepping a little closer. Yes, that's correct. With my niece and her little girl, Marcus replied. Oh, so that's your granddaughter, isn't it? Such a lovely, cheerful girl, Evelyn, Manura exclaimed. That's right. Right she is. Have you met her? Marcus asked. She's friends with my Sophia. Barely knew each other and already like 2 peas in a pod. I'm so glad you moved in. Now my youngest will have such a wonderful friend nearby, Manura said. Yes, Emma and I are very happy too. You should come over for tea sometime. We're neighbors after all. You can tell us about local traditions. Marcus smiled. Absolutely. We'll definitely come. The young woman slipped her greens into a bag and almost instantly disappeared from view. Marcus didn't even have a chance to say goodbye. Yes, he remembered his daughter had always been like that, restless and energetic, but at the same time the best student. He walked back to his old new house with a bag of fresh fruits. Did you get bread? Emma asked. Huh? Oh, I forgot about bread, sorry. I'll go back and get some now, Marcus replied. What's wrong with you? You seem off, Emma asked. I saw her, Sarita. I even talked to her. Can you imagine? Marcus said. You met Manura? Emma quickly wiped her hands with a kitchen towel and hugged her uncle. Yes, Mana, Marcus replied, hugging his niece back. I almost ran to her with open arms, barely held back. My heart was racing. I've never felt like this before. I even invited them for tea. I told you, you've just started living, not chasing after the success of your company, Emma said, stepping back slightly. I'm so happy for you. Everything will be fine, I can feel it. Thank you, my hazel-eyed girl. Thank you 1,000 times. Tears welled up in the old man's eyes. He pinched the bridge of his nose with 2 fingers, as people do to keep from crying. I'll go get the bread myself and you make the coffee. You're great at it. I'll be right back. Emma grabbed her purse and quickly headed for the exit. The Alvarez family arrived in full force. Everyone quickly got acquainted and started setting the table together. "You have such a nice uncle," Minora said as she and Emma were cutting the pie in the kitchen. "Yes, Uncle Marcus is very good. He can be a bit naggy sometimes, but overall he's a great guy," Emma smiled. "You know, when I look at him, my heart starts beating faster. I can't even explain it. It's like I've met my soulmate," Minora trailed off. "It happens so. We'll be good neighbors," Emma said. "Yes, exactly." "Have you found a job yet?" Minora asked. "Not yet, to be honest. I haven't even tried yet." "Is it hard to find work here?" "Well, it depends. Do you have a profession?" "I worked as a nurse in cardiology." "Really? There's just been an opening for a school nurse. Do you want me to talk to them about you?" "Yes, I would be very grateful. A school nurse is better than nothing. We have a wonderful administration here, and the staff is great too." "That's great. My Evelyn is starting school this fall." "And my Sophia too," Minora exclaimed enthusiastically. "I wish they would put them in the same class, otherwise my Evelyn won't survive being separated from Sophia. Don't worry, I have some influence at our school, so I'll sort everything out. Let's go. Everyone's been waiting for the pie." They drank tea, joked a lot. The men were discussing something, planning to have a barbecue next time. Letitia, Minora's older daughter, was telling the girls something. They looked at her with mouths agape, holding their breath. The most interesting thing about these gatherings was that nobody had to think about what to say or how to say it. Everything just flowed naturally. It was simply fond and pleasant to sit together in the living room, eating treats and chatting about various things. "Where did you move from?" Alejandro suddenly asked. There was an awkward silence. "We ran away from the capital," Emma suddenly spoke up. "We got tired of the noise and the expense of life, so we dashed here to the seaside for peace and greenery." "Wise decision," Alejandro praised. "The hustle and bustle of the capital is real poison for me. Whenever I go there on business, I come back home exhausted." "I haven't left our little paradise for ages," Minora joined the conversation. "And I don't feel the urge to. In my youth, I thought our capital was the best place on earth." "Yes, everything changes." As they bid farewell to the Alvarezes, Emma hugged each of them. "Come visit us," she said to Aurora. "Your little sister often comes over." "Thanks, I will. Besides, Don Marcus promised to help me with math," the girl laughed. "You too drop by, Emma. Let's chat and I'll talk about your job. Come over and we'll discuss it." "Yes, I'll definitely drop by." That evening, Evelyn fell asleep quickly. Emma didn't even have to read her a bedtime story. After tucking her daughter in, she went to the kitchen to have a glass of water. She found Marcus there. He was sitting at the table staring out the window. The kitchen was illuminated by the round-faced moon, casting its silver glow on the leaves of the trees in their garden. "Can't sleep?" Emma asked softly as she sat down on a chair next to him. "Yeah, old man's insomnia," the man chuckled. "It's a full moon tonight. I always sleep poorly during a full moon." "Really? I've never paid attention whether it's a full moon or not. I tell you, I'm getting old, can't do anything about it. How do you feel about being with your daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughters? Do you still think Alejandro is a freeloader and a scoundrel who won't end well?" "Emma, stop teasing me. I've realized I was wrong." "Good for you, Uncle Marcus. Keep it up. You're quite the actress. We fled the capital's noise. We wanted peace. You shouldn't have gone into medicine. You should have pursued acting. I had to say something. We didn't even discuss it beforehand. I saw you there silent as a fish, so I had to take matters into my own hands. I think it turned out very plausible. Imagine, Minora wants to talk to the school administration and get me hired as the school nurse. Cool, huh? Why do you need to work? I promised you wouldn't need anything. I owe you so much. You don't understand a thing, Uncle. You and I are, after all, just ordinary people. We need work. If I were you, I'd consider a job as a minibus driver or something similar. Otherwise, it's too suspicious where we get the money from if neither of us works and we're raising Evelyn. You're right 1,000 times, my wise niece. Where did I find such a clever girl like you? You know, I found myself in the same place you did, my dear uncle. You know, Emma, Sometimes I really feel like you're my niece and Evelyn is my granddaughter, and I really like it here. I can't understand how I lived in the capital all my life." They stayed up past midnight. It felt so good to talk about what was on both their minds on this moonlit night. The garden through the open window seemed magical, as if a fairy with transparent wings would flutter from a branch any moment, or a group of gold-seeking gnomes would appear in the clearing. Beauty and silence. What else do you need for happiness? For true human happiness? Manura couldn't sleep on this magical night. Tired of tossing and turning, she got out of bed and went into the small courtyard, settling into a wicker chair. Lost in her thoughts, the young woman thought about her father. They hadn't seen each other for 17 years, long 17 years. How was he living? Did he remember his only daughter? She knew almost nothing about her father. Sometimes there were mentions online, but mostly about his company. It still bore the name Manura. Why did he treat her and Alejandro like that? Why did he want to put him in prison for life? Didn't he understand that she loved him and still loves him? Manura felt sorry for her father. Alive, successful, but so tangled in his judgments that he couldn't simply enjoy living and loving his family. Manura still loved her father despite the terrible, despicable act he almost committed. The young woman often thought about writing to him or going straight to the capital, to her native home where she was born and raised, but she was afraid. She feared that her father would reject her, kick her out, and curse her. What if he had a woman, and maybe even a child now? When they parted, he was just over 50. So Manura never attempted to contact her only blood relative. Now, with these new neighbors arriving, Manura was even more considering whether to visit her father. Yes, I will go and talk to him. Let him reject me and curse me, but at least I will know that I'm not needed and will leave the illusion that we will ever reconcile and embrace each other, the woman thought, and went to sleep. Manura's summer vacation began, the perfect time for a trip to her ancestral home. She decided not to tell her husband and daughters about it. Who knows what this little journey might lead to? It's better they don't know. She'll tell them later when she returns. Manura decided to say she's just going to visit a childhood friend. She bought a train ticket. She always loved trains since childhood. On the day of departure, Manura came to Emma, with whom they became very close friends. "Hi, dear," Emma shouted from the garden when she saw her friend. "Hi, can I come in?" "Of course, come in. Do you want tea or juice?" "No thanks, Emma. I wanted to ask you something." "Sure, what do you need?" "I'm going to the capital today. I've already bought a ticket. I want to visit a friend. Although, who am I lying to? I want to visit my father. We haven't seen each other for 17 years. That's what I wanted. I can't live knowing that he's somewhere out there, and I can't even talk to him. What if he needs help? You know, I decided, let him kick me out rather than speculate whether we can fix things or not. I may still be angry with him sometimes, but he's still my biological father. I have no one else left from my family except Alejandro and the girls. How can I help? Asked a slightly pale Emma. Are you okay? You look a bit pale. Everything's fine. Probably just the heat. So what did you want to ask? Oh yes, will you watch over my girls? Alejandro had to leave urgently on business, and then there's my trip. I'm afraid to cancel it. I might not dare to do it later. Yes, of course I'll watch them, don't worry. When are you leaving? I need to be at the station by 6 Quay. The train leaves at 6:30. 3:30, Emma muttered quietly. What? Manura asked. Nothing, I just said it's 3:30. Okay, I'll run. I need to do something before I leave. I plan to be back tomorrow. Okay, Manu, go ahead. If the girls are with you, let them come here. I made homemade lemonade. Yes, I'll tell them. Thank you, Emma. You're so kind. Emma's head turned into a cauldron with some potion. Thoughts boiled, spilled out, but nothing valuable was born. How to stop Manura? If she's ready to meet her father, what's the point of waiting? She must tell her the whole truth. But what if she ruins everything? Oh God, what to do? How to arrange everything? Manura had 3.5 hours left before her departure. She needed to think faster. You don't look too good, my girl, Marcus said, concerned. tearing himself away from the tablet where he read the news every morning, afternoon, and evening as if on schedule. "Uncle Manura is going to visit her father," Emma blurted out. "What? How did you find out?" "She told me herself. If you haven't noticed, we've become very good friends. So she still loves you, you old hypocrite. You have to tell her the truth. If you don't do it now, her heart will simply break. Then there will be no turning back. Manura will shut down and try to forget about you forever." "What do you suggest?" Wiping his sweaty palms on his trousers, Marcus asked. "I suggest telling Manura everything right now. You have to do it yourself. Come on, go. Tell the girls to come here, that I'm waiting for them with lemonade and popcorn, and you talk to your daughter." "Emma, I'm scared," Marcus said somewhat childishly. "Don't be afraid. She loves you and is really looking forward to hugging you, believe me. And here come the girls. It's the perfect time. Go." Sophie, Evelyn, and Aurora entered the house discussing something lively and laughing. Marcus walked towards his daughter's house on wooden legs. What to say? How to even begin? And what if she doesn't want to listen to him? If she hates him for another deceit? "Don Marcus, is something wrong?" Manura asked anxiously, meeting him at the gate where she was loosening the soil in the flower bed with small blue flowers. She was trying to calm herself before the important trip. "No, Manura. I mean, something happened many years ago. What are you talking about?" "About us. About you and me. Back then, 17 years ago, I made a lot of mistakes, but I paid for them. Believe me. I lost so many years of love and joy. I'm guilty, my dear. Very guilty before you and your mother." Dad? Is that you? But why all this? The theater? How did you come up with being Don Marcus?" "It's not me who came up with it, Minnie. It's Emma." "Who is she?" "Your mistress." "No, what are you saying? Emma is a nurse from the clinic where I was recently hospitalized." "Are you sick?" "No, darling. Let's go inside. I'll explain everything to you. It's a long story." They sat at a small round glass table in the kitchen, a father and daughter who had been separated for 17 years. They both had run out of tears of longing and tears of joy, so they just held each other's hands and remained silent. "You know, Dad, I wanted so much to meet you, but I was so afraid that you would reject me," Manura said quietly. "Many, my dear. I was also afraid to intrude into your family after what I almost did. Thank God you came to me that day. Forgive me." "Okay, Daddy, let's go. I want to tell everything to the girls. Alejandro will be here around noon. I want to tell him everything too." "Yes, let's go." That evening was filled with tears and hugs, lots of conversations and cheerful shouts. Emma threw a real celebration. She ordered food from the local restaurant, and with the help of the girls, decorated the house and garden with colorful lights and ribbons. "I want to make a toast," Gustavo said when everyone had calmed down a bit and sat down at the table. "Long live our little town. Yes, I didn't make a mistake. It really is our little town. Thanks to this place, I regained a daughter, a son-in-law, and my lovely granddaughters. And I also found a true friend, Emma. If it weren't for Sarita, I would never have dared to do what I did with this wonderful girl." "Oh, stop it, Gustavo. I just wanted to help." Emma blushed slightly and lowered her eyes. "And you helped," exclaimed Alejandro. "I will write your portrait. We will worship it like an icon." "Alejandro, stop fooling around," Manura scolded her husband. "I'm not fooling around at all, you'll see. My soul, literally in a few days, Emma's portrait will be ready. Let's drink." "Wait, I'm not finished." Gustavo raised his hand. "I want us all to live as one family, so I plan to stay here forever and build a good house, and now that's all." The glasses clinked. The house filled with peace, happiness, and harmony. Dear viewers, if you enjoyed the story, please support the video by liking it and leaving a comment. Thank you very much.